For me, it's always really cool to see athletes who are leveraging their brand, their name, image, and their likeness to create content and show people the behind the scenes of the athletics world. I always said that, like, if I could go back and do it, I mean, if I were an athlete and the NIL era was going on, I would 100% be doing a podcast. I would do a podcast of my day to day. I'd be interviewing my teammates, my coaches, the opponents, anybody who I could get. I would probably be creating content regarding that, because that's something that I want to see. Well, today our guest is a former Boise State basketball player, and one of the reasons I loved following him was because of his content he was creating during his time at Boise State. He had a lot of really cool ideas, and he was always giving behind the scenes information and making up some fun, clever posts for people to see. And so flash forward to now, I got to reach out to him and actually have him on the show. And so we're talking about his athletic journey is the first part of the episode. And so we're going to get to see how he even made it to Boise State in the first place, some of the ups and downs that he went through in his career with his injury, his senior year in high school, during the COVID era, all the things, right? But then we're also going to spend the second half of the interview specifically talking about content creation. And so I really hope that the athletes and the parents that listen to this take some notes, because you'll see how effective you can be if you leverage your name, image, and your likeness. You can really level up and do it even if you're not a star player. And so you'll learn some really cool things from Sam Winter. It is a former Boise State basketball player. So get ready. This is the Gametime Guru. So
what time is it? Game time!
This is the Gametime Guru podcast, where I interview sports figures from all over the world to help deliver a panoramic view on sports. So whether you're a former athlete, one of the crazies, or simply a casual sports fan, this is the perfect show for you as we peel back the curtains and learn from our guests every single week. I'm your host, Shane Larson, and I'm helping you see sports through a different lens. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Gametime Guru podcast. Shane Larson here, host of the show. Excited to be here. Another week, another interview. And as you guys heard in the intro, this is a guy that I've been following for a while. I knew him from just the roster at Boise State, but also from his content creation. So that's why we're going to be dipping into the world of sports, D1 athletics, just understanding collegiate athletics, but as well as content creation. And I think it's a very unique opportunity because our guest is super, super skilled there. I want to give a shout out to the sponsor of today's podcast, Timberline Digital Marketing. If you guys need any help with your digital marketing needs, if you're a small business owner, you need help with your Facebook ads, you need help with your Google ads, your SEO, your blogs, your email marketing, your email automation, everything in between, hit up Timberline Digital Marketing. I've got the link in the description for you guys to check that out. Their services are fantastic. So, like I said, super stoked to bring on our guest. His name is Sam Winter. Sam, thanks for joining the show, man.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited for this.
Heck yeah, dude. So as a Boise State alum myself, I follow their athletics programs quite religiously. Been in the area since I was a baby. So I've been born and raised here in Boise, Meridian area. So I know Boise State like the back of my hand. And so it's kind of cool to talk to somebody who's been part of the program. So as a former Boise State basketball player, I always found it intriguing, Sam, that you kind of just embraced the role that you had there. You know, you embraced it and you had a good time, and you shared stories of kind of your role there. But before we even get into that, I kind of want to touch base on your athletics career prior to that, because through your content, I was able to learn a little bit about your background. I remember you talking about football and basketball, and I think you said track was some of your main sports growing up. But tell us a little bit about your background in athletics and why you ultimately chose basketball to go to the next level.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I played basketball, football, and did track in high school. I would say basketball has always been my favorite, but I did enjoy football, and I did think about playing, maybe wanting to play college, but basketball practice was a little more fun than football practice for most people. So, yeah, I just been growing up playing sports all my life. I'm a huge sports fan, so when it came time to decide, like, do I want to pursue this in college, I thought to myself, like, yeah, I definitely want to play. It wasn't even thinking D1. I was any level of college. I was thinking about going on playing the next level, whether that was football or basketball. But kind of how I ended up at Boise State and how I ended up playing basketball in college was I got injured my senior year of high school playing football. So I tore my ACL, so I was out for 9 months or whatever after that. And it's like I was kind of thinking to myself, like, yeah, I'm probably just gonna hang it up, call it a career there. Um, and then COVID happened because I was 2020, so the whole high school sports thing got messed up anyways. But I was kind of my high school coach knew Coach Burns at Boise State. They are both kind of from the Seattle, Washington area, so they knew each other, and I had a few other mutual connections, and I got thinking like that would be super cool if I could walk on at Boise State because kind of going back, my mom went to Boise State as well, so I've always grown up going to Boise State football games and just loved Boise, Idaho, and that was kind of my dream school, I guess you could say. So kind of not necessarily giving up on just playing somewhere in the middle of nowhere, like not that that's a bad thing, but that's just not what I wanted to do. I kind of wanted to just go to a Division One college and get the whole experience. So why not try to reach out and try to message or email Coach Burns, which is what I did. And that was kind of in December of my senior year of high school. Then fast forward, things are kind of up in the air. Like I don't really hear a ton of stuff back. I mean, we're talking a little bit, but I actually like remember this vividly. In August, I came back. I just started kind of getting back into working out, like full 100% workouts for basketball, just to stay ready, I guess. And I was in my room, kind of packing for college. It was literally like a week or two before I left, and I get a call from Coach Burns, and he's like, "We got an extra practice spot, scout team spot, and if you would, we got an extra spot if you want it." And of course, I was like, "Heck yeah!" So that's kind of the whole story. Got to campus, and like I said, it was during COVID, so it took a little while to get like on the team. Had to go through a bunch of stuff, but finally, about a month later, I ended up on the team, and that's been history ever since.
Dude, that's such a crazy story, though. Like, I don't think, unless people have watched some of your content to explain some of that, they would never know that. Like, if they don't know you personally, it's such a unique journey. Let's unbox a couple things there, Sam, because that's intriguing to me. First things first, your ACL injury. So I came across your video again today. I remember seeing that before, and it's been a while since I've seen it, maybe like a year almost, but like it was close. I've seen it a couple months back. It was a long time ago. And then I was going through your feed today and just kind of like checking some of the content out that I've gone through before. And it was a freak accident, dude. It seemed like it was just wild. Can you explain that? Because you say I tore my ACL. I think most people would be like, oh, I'm sure you got like hit in the knee or whatever. Can you explain what actually happened on that one in your senior year in high school for football?
Yeah, it was really weird. It was the literally the first possession that we had on offense, and I was a receiver, so I was kind of going in for like a 5 yard slant, and it was non-contact. I just pivoted. It was on turf too, which a lot of ACL injuries happen on turf. But I pivoted, no contact, and I just felt like this pop in my knee. And I kind of laid there for a little bit. And I was like, that kind of hurt and did not feel good. Trainer came out and checked me out, and like I was able to run back fine. I was from a small school, so we played two ways, offense and defense. Everybody did. So I kind of sat out on defense, and then the other team scored right away, and I was like, "Yeah, I feel fine." The trainer did some tests, and I was like, "I can run. I'll go out there for kick return because I was on kick return." And then literally, I catch the ball, and I go to make a move, and my knee just gives out because I basically didn't have an ACL. So that's where I kind of just crumbled on the ground, and I was like, "Yeah, there's probably something wrong." So that's how it happened.
Oh man, so it was before that. You had torn it before, just didn't realize that it was fully torn. And then on the kickoff, you planted and it buckled. Oh my gosh, dude. So I guess what I want to ask you on this one, Sam, is a lot of people that go through injuries. It's an interesting topic of conversation because I feel like from the outside looking in, the general fan and even some athletes that have never gone through them, they always just hear like, "Oh, ACL, they'll be back in 9 months. They'll be good." But they don't realize like what actually goes into that 9 months, the mental toll that it takes on you. A lot of guys go into depression, guys and girls, they get like go up and down, anxiety, depression, just because like it's hard. For at least for me with my shoulder, that was a really hard thing for me. Recovery was really, really hard. But I know that it's difficult to try to get even back to feeling confident and doing any kind of thing like that. So walk me through that. What was your rehab like going through all of that. In the mix of all of this, you mentioned it's like the COVID era of the world. Things are weird anyway. And I'm sure you were in Washington, correct?
Yes.
So, I mean, Washington was like a lockdown. That's where my in-laws are all at. So Washington was really locked down at the time. And so I'm sure things were just weird, just different than normal. And so I'm curious, just walk us through like what that rehab process was like for you and how you got through it.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it was hard. I've never had kind of a big injury like that. I remember kind of like 3 days after surgery, my first like PT session, I couldn't even lift my leg, which was crazy. It was a big struggle just to trying to do that. So just being able to, it was hard just being able to stay consistent every day, and you got to basically relearn how to run. And I have a picture somewhere, but your leg's probably half the size of your other leg just because you haven't been working or walking on it. But yeah, it took a while. I mean, you go from step to step, month to month of learning how to walk and just trying to get that strength, like just from your body, and then you get into weights and stuff. And thankfully, my dad works for the school, so I was able to go into the high school weight room instead of because of the normal city gym was closed because of COVID. So thankfully, I was able to do that, and just being able to get my strength back was long. It took long, and not to mention it was also hard watching my teammates play my senior year of basketball, just because that's my favorite sport, and every high school kid dreams about their senior year, So yeah, and then just honestly being able to get back into the gym helped a lot, even if it was just form shooting by the rim and not moving. So yeah, it did take a little bit of toll, but I was able to get through it, and came back stronger. I think I couldn't dunk before, and I ended up being able to dunk a lot after that. So
hey, that's actually a pretty cool topic of discussion too. So coming back stronger, the ups and the downs. I do think that if you're listening to this, make sure to take note. I thought what you said there is in regards to just like getting to the gym. Like the gym was kind of something that got you into that state. I remember, it's funny that something very similar with me with my shoulder. I couldn't move my arm. I always tell people this. I'm like, there was a moment there. I was 28 when it happened. So I was like older, but like that's when my like athleticism started to kind of decrease. And after my shoulder injury, because like all the things I was doing, the athletic lifting movements and everything, I couldn't move my arm anymore. And I was like, I'm never going to move my arm. And I started panicking because I was like, I couldn't even lift it like 2 inches to the side and all those things. And like you said, eventually day after day, it's almost like a step-by-step type of deal. You'll get it. But my favorite thing was going to the gym. Like I was like, dude, I'll just ride the bike or I will do a leg day. And I'm going to go to the gym and move my body. Cause like, I just liked the atmosphere and I liked just being able to do something, because otherwise I was going to lose my mind. And so like, that was something that helped me as well. Just kind of getting my mental back into check. Cause I went through a little spiral there for a little while. Coming back stronger. That's very interesting. You talk about how you couldn't dunk before. How long did it take you to dunk? Like post surgery, do you credit that to the college workouts that you were, part of when you got over to Boise State?
yeah, I would say most of it went to that. I mean, I remember in high school we would like do powerlifting. We weren't doing like athletic lifting, so that was probably a big part of it. But yeah, I want to say it was either probably like December, honestly. So almost a year after I was able to start dunking consistently. So definitely part of, I feel like also just being able to you're targeting one leg the whole time. And it was my jumping leg as well. So that was part of it. But also I would give a lot of credit to the college strength programs, because that's basically what you're training for is basketball athleticism.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Now, Sam, when you got over to Boise State as a walk on, you're the scout team or whatever, a practice team, you had the opportunity to go over there. I think it's interesting to note the connections there. People need to understand, like you had a connection there, but it's not just the connection that got you there. It was you reaching out and making that initial like showing interest sort of thing. And I try to tell the kids that I coach the seniors in high school right now for club basketball. So coach the unsigned seniors. We're trying to get them offers, get them one last run at it on the circuit so they can go get some chances at trying to get spots, And so I always tell them though, like you can have connections. I got a lot of connections with college coaches, but you've got to reach out and you've got to do the work. And it sounds like that's kind of what you did. You made the connection yourself too. Like you were talking to him. So you knew he had you at top of mind when it was time to get there. But I do want to ask you this, like as a practice team player, were you taking part in the actual workouts with the team when you first got there? Like, how was it? What was the transition like going into the program at that point? And was it as rough as they make it sound?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it took a while to get kind of fully being able to practice and lift, just because it's a long onboarding process. But yeah, I mean, I remember I went to a few practices and then got cleared, and I was just kind of thrown in there, despite like not working out against a single person for almost a year, or being in a scrimmage type environment. So that was definitely, I had to get kind of under my feet a little bit. But yeah, I mean, college athletics are no joke. Practice intensity and lifting, it's definitely a huge step up, and it took me a little bit, but I was able to get kind of situated pretty quickly, I would say.
What would be your biggest piece of advice, though, Sam, if you're talking to somebody who's coming in, and just like knowing what you know now as far as like academics, the college life, you come in there, thrown into the mix of a D1 basketball program, just like how it's ran, how study hall works, how the weight room works, how the practices are ran. What would be the biggest piece of advice so somebody doesn't come in there like shell shocked, so to speak?
Yeah, I would just say, obviously the basketball is a huge part of it, and being able to make sure you're prepared, uh, condition wise, especially, as well as just being able to have your body be ready for the lifts and doing what you're supposed to do, but also just being able to kind of, I don't know what to say, schedule your time effectively, work on your time management. You're going to have assignments, you're going to have practice, you're going to have lifts, you're going to have individual workouts all in one day. So just being able to stay focused, and like I said, basketball is only part of it. You're not going to play if you're failing classes or you're getting in trouble off the court. So being able to just kind of lock in, I would say. I mean, college is a lot of fun, but also if you're a Division I basketball player, you're not there to live the college experience. You're there to play basketball, and of course go to school as well.
Sure. But like, that's one of those sacrifices I think that's really important to note for kids who want to go play, whether you're a girl, a guy, whatever. There are sacrifices. A lot of people want to go enjoy the college experience, going out and partying, but like, there's some of that doesn't get to happen because you have other things that you're doing, and that's usually a big piece there. So I hope people take note of that as well. Question for you too on this. I mean, you've been able to play for, like, you were part of some really good teams. Like, it was kind of like during an era where, Boise State's been pretty solid, during that time that you were there. Do you have a specific teammate that sticks out to you that like was a good mentor to you, and like what's something that you learned from them?
Yeah, I mean, I've had a few just from kind of watching them. I would say number one, Abu Kijab. He was a transfer from Oregon, and I played 2 years with him, and he was a senior on that Mountain West Championship team back in 2022, I believe. But that dude he would go hard every single play, and he was a true definition of a leader, just because he would hold everybody accountable. He would get in guys' faces if they're not working hard, and he kind of just set the tone of that team, and definitely was a key piece in how we did that year, winning the Mountain West Championship. And then, of course, Tyson, like you guys, or all know Tyson, how hard of a worker he is and how much of a leader he is. He's just like Abu. He's the same, holds guys accountable, and is kind of the key part in these teams we've been on. And those two guys kind of stick out just because of their leadership and, of course, their skills on the court as well. But
No, that's really important too. Just like how they were as leaders, just what they did as an example. That's really cool to hear. Now, what would you say is one of the biggest things you learned yourself, like in your role with Boise State's basketball program? What was the biggest thing that you learned during the time that you were there that you feel like you improved the most in, as far as whether it be leadership, whether it be confidence, whether it be whatever? What was the biggest thing you took away during your time there?
yeah, I would say just being able to like kind of star in my role. And that's not even just for a guy on the scout team. That could be for anybody. Like, if your role is to go in there and get 3 offensive rebounds a game, then do that at the highest level. If your role is about to score 20 points a game, then you do that. Just kind of being able to add value to the team. If coaches recruited everybody that could score 20 points a game, then their team probably wouldn't be that good, just because everybody's trying to score. But being able to just focus on what you're good at and do it to the highest ability to add value, And then also for me specifically, I would just say my confidence and leadership, because I feel like the first year I was there, I was a little shy and not knowing anybody and kind of just stuck to my own. But I mean, as you're there for a few years and younger guys are coming in, you got to kind of show them the ropes and show them how things are done, whether that was how the scout team operates or just kind of how in general the team expectations are, and just being able to kind of help them get through and prepare them for these next few years that they're going on.
Oh, I love that, dude. I love it. While you were there, Sam, you guys got the opportunity to play in some big games, big time atmospheres. Do you have a favorite memory, like as far as like the biggest game or the biggest, like the best memory that you had as far as where you played? Was it the tournament? Like, tell me what your favorite memory was at Boise State.
Yeah, I got a lot of them. It's hard to narrow down one. Definitely one of them, Mountain West Championship. That was you can't leave that out. That was awesome. And obviously the tournament experiences, like this time of year, I was telling somebody, it kind of feels like a kid at Christmas. You kind of get that feeling just of the conference tournaments and going to the NCAA tournaments and stuff. But I would say one kind of specific memory I have is, I think it was last year. We were playing at New Mexico in the pit, which was probably the best environment in the Mountain West. But it was my birthday as well, and I think we were literally like 12.5 point underdogs. So we were supposed to lose by 12 points, and we ended up winning by 5 or 10. And just being able, there's nothing better than a road win, especially in an environment like that. So being able to get out of there and all the fans are leaving and sad after they're talking trash to you all game. That was definitely one of the best moments I've had.
Oh, I love it, dude. I love it. Um, as far as like gear and stuff, like being part of a D1 program, part of the benefit of that is like you get access to some resources that some people don't. You know, they just got a different financial. I guess there's just different financial resources. Do you have any like favorite gear that you got during your time there at Boise State? Shoes or a jacket or anything of that nature?
Yeah, I mean, since my freshman year to my senior year, the gear just got better and better. Part of it just because we started winning more, and yeah. So I mean, we got some pretty cool shoes. My favorite shoes I got were the LeBron Next Gens that I got last year. But my senior year, we got like some Tech Fleece, like Nike Tech Fleece suits, and we got like this windbreaker thing that was pretty cool. So yeah, I mean, yeah, that's definitely one of the perks of being on a Nike Division I school. You get all this free cool stuff, which I actually had to give some away. We can talk about that later in the video part, but I did a video, give a lot of stuff away. So
Dude, sweet, man. Oh, that's cool. Well, that's a good transition too, Sam, because while you were there at Boise State, I mean, it's just interesting in 2022, yeah, they discussed the whole entire like NIL stuff. There was a lot of stuff that was like starting to be okay now, and people started being able to document their experiences. One of the things that I loved about what you did is that I always told people before NIL got legalized, everything was good to go there. I always said, man, if I could teach athletes how to do a podcast, I would literally listen to that. I would listen to somebody who's an athlete in the day-to-day and follow their stuff. And then you had that kicker that was over at UCF, right? Who got in trouble for making his YouTube channel and then got kicked out. And this is before the NIL stuff was allowed. And I was like, man, but that's the content that I like. Like that's content that I actually enjoy, like hearing an athlete. So that's why I was so intrigued when I started seeing your content pop up. Because I was like, oh, he's an active like athlete on the program. It was funny because you kind of just like embraced your role at Boise State and you kind of made that part of your content as well. And so I think that's why people were gravitating towards it. And it was something that I enjoyed because it was just like you get to see the behind the scenes stuff and a guy who embraces his role and just has a good time being authentic with it, but also kind of having some humor at the same time. It was fun. So like, talk to me about that. What kind of stemmed that whole idea of starting to create content and doing that as an active athlete at Boise State?
yeah, I would say I've always kind of been interested in content or social media in general. I mean, I remember back in the Vine days, I would make Vines and stuff, and I would always make videos with my friends in high school, and we do like funny things in video class or whatever. But yeah, definitely when I going into high school and college, I really didn't post much, but definitely when kind of the whole NIL stuff happened, I was like, I'm not going to get NIL deals for my performance because I don't play. So how else can I monetize myself? And I think my first video, and it did pretty well. at the time that was pretty well. But I did like it was during the summer of my sophomore year, and I did like a D1 bench warmer highlights video, and it was just like me dunking and warm ups and celebrating on the sideline during the games and stuff. So I was like, maybe I'll keep doing this, and because people were in the comments, they were laughing and stuff, and thought it was pretty funny. And I mean, I don't care. Like, I'm not gonna pretend I should be playing or anything like that. So that's kind of where it all started.
Yeah, that's why I think it's so creative, man. I think it was awesome. Like I said, you embraced the role. Like, hey, let's do that. And it was funny. Like, all your stuff was like, it was intriguing because it was like some people were having a hard time reading it. I think it was like, is he serious or is he like joking? And that's what was so intriguing about it. I was like, dude, this is super, super good. It's like very clever, in my opinion. So did you ever have any, like, did the guys on the team enjoy, like, did they kind of fall into the role too and like enjoy being part of your content, or were there anybody that was like annoyed by it by chance?
I mean, I'm sure there were some people that were annoyed, but most of the guys were like, "Oh, you should make a video about this." Or if I had needed somebody to be in a video, I would just ask them. They would be like, "Oh yeah, yeah," because I had a few videos where it featured some of my teammates and stuff. But I think for the most part, people enjoyed it and wanted or encouraged me to do it. I never really wanted to like make it a point or kind of over exaggerate making videos during times where I shouldn't be. So I kind of just try to keep it on the down low and just do it on my own time, not disrupting anybody else's time.
I gotcha. You're smart about that then. That's awesome. So talk to me about this, Sam. Like, you're very creative. I am curious what goes into the thought process of the content creation. When you were a basketball player, I'm sure there were some ideas that you could always like float around and you had your teammates saying, hey, you should do this or this. But at some point, I think with a lot of content creators, they have a hard time continuing coming up with ideas. I mean, you can ask ChatGPT and it will give you a plethora of ideas, but like, you know what I mean? Sometimes they get that content block where they stop figuring out what they stop, the creativity ends somewhere. So talk to me about that. Like, how were you able to, what's your process of content creation and how do you continuously come up with new ideas?
Yeah, when I was playing, there was definitely a lot more options for me, and it was way easier just because I could film every single. I didn't do every single, but I could do every single road trip or gear video, stuff like that. But now I kind of, it's a little harder. I don't really kind of sit down and think of ideas just because I've tried that before, and I'm like, wow, these ideas suck. They're not good. So I kind of just really just find inspiration, or if an idea pops in my head, I'll write it down and make it later, or just like I said, find inspiration from videos I see on social media, or kind of now I find cool news stories or videos that are going viral and make videos about them, kind of in that basketball niche a little bit. But yeah, definitely just finding inspiration from things I see or random ideas that pop in my head.
No, I love that. I was going to ask, like, once basketball ended, I guess my question for you is this: is like sometimes when the sports end, people like are like, oh, well, I got to go get a real job, so the fun's over. And what I've appreciated about you is like, yeah, that might be true. I don't know what you're doing like on the side of that, but like your content creation has continued on because you found new ways to create content. You found new ways to do things, even though you're not playing right now. So I've always found that to be intriguing. The question is like, do you want to do content creation full time moving forward? Like, what would your like, is this like your goal is to like have a sustainable income doing this type of thing? Or would you like to work, like have this as a side thing that you do, similar to what I do with my podcast? I run it as a business. It is a business. It generates income, but like I have a full-time job as a marketing director. Like, that's my question for you. Like, what's your plans, Sam?
I mean, if I got to the point where I was making a sustainable income just on content creation, I think I would probably do as well as some other things on the side that are maybe entrepreneurial ventures. But yeah, I mean, right now I don't have any plans of stopping, or I'm not going to just stop doing it. So I just kind of do it for fun with a little bit of extra income on the side. But yeah, if I get to that point, we'll see. That would be pretty cool. But I don't know. I'm not going to put all my eggs on one basket just yet.
No, I love that. I think it's cool. A question that a lot of people had that I wrote down today as I was like kind of framing some questions that I wanted to hear. It's something that's been asked to me because I've been doing this for 8 years. is like, how do you still find joy in it, right? Like, how do you do it to where you still find joy in creating content so it's not like a nuisance, right? And my question, I would say the same thing to you. Like, how are you able to find joy in it? What are you doing so that you don't get burnt out, so to speak, Sam?
Yeah, there are some times where I'm like, I don't want to. I'm not feeling that creative right now. I don't want to sit down and edit a video or make a video. But I think for me, just I don't hold myself to a super like scheduled, I guess schedule a super busy schedule. I just kind of go in flows. I don't have like a calendar. I say I need to post this day and this day and this day, and I need to put this on this day. I just kind of like, if a video comes to mind, I'll make it, and if I'm feeling it, I'll make it. But if not, then I won't. Just, I mean, if you look at my Instagram, there's not like a certain posting schedule that I have. So I think that's a big part of it, not just to get burnt out, and then as well as just enjoying other things as well, not thinking about it all the time.
Sure. That's good. Content creation is like it's a cool thing. And as a marketing director in my full-time work, you know, I oversee an entire marketing team that, I mean, for a corporation, we're trying to do content. And it's awesome, but there is like a legitimate thing of like, man, it can be draining at the same time. And then I'm also running this business and my other sports media businesses, and I'm coaching, and it's like a lot of things going on at the same time. You get burnt out a little bit if you're not careful. And I like hearing it. Everybody has their own way of doing it. I like that you don't have to have a certain cadence. You don't have to have a certain schedule necessarily to keep going. As for me, it's kind of an opposite thing, but also similar. When I first started, Sam, like I was at Boise State. I was a 28-year-old senior, you know, doing my thing over there. And I was like, if I'm going to start a podcast, I'm going to only post one episode a week, because everybody that starts podcasts, you'll see them, like it's like 95% of them, they start a podcast, they stop posting within 6 months. Like they're done. They're no longer doing a podcast after 6 months, because they realize it's like a grind. It's a grind. They try to post multiple times a week, and it's just really hard to edit and do all that consistently. So I said, I'll just do one a week. Every single week I'm posting a new episode, and I've done that for 8 years. And that's the way I've been able to do it, because it keeps it like exciting for me. So I'm not just like dreading interviews. So for example, I'm driving home today. Been a long day. I've been up since 3:00 this morning. Been a really long day. Work was rough for me, but I was thinking about this interview, and I was like actually really excited to come here and chat with you, because I'm like, dude, I'm not burnt out of doing this. I actually love doing it. And so I think what's important for content creators that are listening to this, that whether you're wanting to do a podcast or whether you want to be like yourself, Sam, and like people can create content on social media, find what works for you so that you don't lose the joy in it. I think that's the biggest piece. Like, find what works for you, whatever it is. Find that, because that is one of the biggest problems in content creation is people love it. They think it sounds so cool. Social media is so awesome. And then all of a sudden they get burnt out within 6 months to a year, and then there's no more joy in it. So I did want to ask you about the entrepreneurial stuff though, because I saw that you had a Christian clothing line. Talk to us a little bit about that and the thought process behind that and what you were doing. And are you still pushing that out?
Yeah, I just had my first kind of launch, I guess you could say, last week on Saturday. And kind of how that started was I got my degree in entrepreneurship from Boise State, so I feel like I've always had like an entrepreneurship mind, and I was thinking of what I could like create that was my own, and I kind of I don't know how the idea came to me, but I was thinking about like doing something Christian sports related, Christian athlete related, and I looked up some shirts, and there weren't like a ton of stuff what I was looking for. So I thought that would be cool to just kind of make my own thing and have like a physical product that people could have. And also it was cool. I was able to make a little series out of it as well, just as the kind of behind the scenes of what goes into it, what goes into creating a t-shirt business, I guess. So that was cool to do, and just, yeah, kind of have just something I could put out there.
Do you have do you have a website for it, Sam, that we could look at, or are we building that? Like, what's the plan for moving forward?
Yeah, right now it's just I'm going through this company that does it for me just because I wanted to see how it goes. So yeah, the website to get the shirts is in my link or in the link in bio of my page, and we'll see about moving forward if I create my own site or get some more shirts or shirts in hand. But yeah, right now just link in my bio.
Awesome. I commend you for being an entrepreneur, man, doing that in the college realm. So it's interesting, Sam, for 6.5 years, I worked for a company called ClickFunnels. And what we did is we taught entrepreneurs all the time. Like, I mean, that's what I coached entrepreneurs on building their businesses. That's what I did. And then I ended up I take a director of marketing position over at a different company here locally. But I love entrepreneurship, man. And we actually were in conversations with some of the professors over there at Boise State, because we also worked with some of the UVU professors that were teaching entrepreneurship in their classes. So we would give them the One Funnel Away challenge, and we would give them these courses to teach their kids. And it was really cool to see, because for me, it's cool to hear you say that, because to me, if I could go back and do it, I'm a communication major. Okay. Typical communication major, whatever, paid off my student loans, never going back to school. It was the dumbest degree ever, because I'm not using anything for it. Like, this whole thing that I've done had nothing to do with my school, like at Boise State. Bless their hearts, but it was the dumbest degree ever. And so I've always looked at like the entrepreneurship role. I think that's so impactful, because a lot of stuff you'll learn in college, it's so outdated by the time you get out of college. It's the reality of it. I've been in the workforce now for a long time, and it's like, it's not there. Entrepreneurship, though, these are skill sets. These are who are going to build businesses. These are the people who are going to build them. They understand how to build them, and they're actually going to do something to generate revenue and stimulate the economy. Like, there's a whole thing there that I have a lot of respect for. So I think that's dope that you went that route. I always thought it was interesting that people would, like, for a long time, there were a lot of professors that would teach business at various colleges that have never actually ran a business. You know what I mean? They're teaching business classes when they're a professor in college. They're not running a business. But like entrepreneurship, sometimes you get a mix of all of it, people who actually ran businesses and understand it. And so I think that's dope. So my question to you there, what stands out to you about entrepreneurship? Were your parents entrepreneurs? Like, did you have any mentors that were that? Like, what got you in that mindset? Was it the content creation, like that kind of stimulated that, or what was it that got you into that field?
No, I mean, my dad is in education, and my mom is an administrative assistant. So none of them are entrepreneurs, but funny enough, I think what kind of got me into entrepreneurship was like, I used to resell shoes back in, I think I started my first flip, I guess, was like 6th or 7th grade off the I remember the shoe was a Jordan 1 Royal, but that was kind of what got me into that. I just liked the idea of not working for anybody and doing stuff on my own and working for myself. And I actually had a little Instagram page going on for a few years. I don't do it anymore just because the shoe market's not that great right now. But yeah, I had a Instagram page of reselling shoes, and I would do that for a few years, and it was fun. I really liked just kind of the hustle of it. Like, it's all up to you, and you got to go out and find the deals and wake up early in the morning for the sneakers drops and stuff. So I would say that really sparked my entrepreneurship mind.
Dude, you've been a straight hustler since the 6th grade, bro. That's awesome, man. I think that's so dope, dude. Oh, that's awesome. So freaking cool, man.
Yeah.
And so like, this is what's cool about you, is like, it's so unique, right? You're the entrepreneur, you're the content creator, you're also the athlete who is like branding yourself and finding a way to leverage your name, image, and likeness, even though you weren't a quote unquote star player at the university. Like, you were part of the program, obviously, but I just think that's so awesome, and it's commendable. Looking forward, now that you've been in it for a while, just kind of doing your thing, content creation, athletics, and so forth, what do you think the future is of NIL and social media and branding for athletes specifically, Sam? Do you think that there's like, do you find yourself like, do you think you could coach athletes and potentially provide services for athletes? And do you think that they should be doing this? Do you feel like is the juice worth the squeeze for these athletes to be branding themselves similarly by creating content or whatever to try to leverage that?
Yeah, I think it's super, super worth it. In terms of what I see for the future, I don't know. I feel like there's kind of a stigma where if you're kind of a star player, you don't really need to be doing that, or you kind of need to stay. I don't know. You stay out of the public light on terms of social media. But I mean, you see guys like Tyson. He has his own show, which has been really cool to see. And then also something that I think is going to be pretty big in the future that not a lot of schools are doing. It's there's a company, I think it's called Floyd Street Media. It's for the Louisville Athletics, and they kind of have their own. It's not. I don't think it's Louisville specific, but a media company around the University of Louisville has like this or Instagram page, and it features all their athletes. I know one of my former teammates used to be at Boise State, Casey Pryor. He has his own podcast with another guy on the team about Louisville basketball. And I think that's super, super cool just because it helps athletes just because they're so busy. And I mean, they don't really have time to be sitting down, editing a bunch of podcasts and making content. So super cool that that company is helping them, but also it just gives the fans a personal view on the players and kind of what's going on behind the scenes. Cause you see like the normal basketball media accounts just posting game highlights and maybe celebration clips and stuff like that. So you really don't know what's going on or what those players' personalities are like. So I think that's pretty cool about what they're doing. And I could see a bunch more colleges and companies doing that in the future, hopefully.
That would be really cool. I think BYU has done something similar as well. I saw a couple of their athletes hosting podcasts and stuff, and they have the media network that actually does all the editing and publishing for it, but they're the ones hosting it, so you get to see their face, so they get to leverage that a little bit. That's a great idea, actually, and I think that would be so cool. I just think it's so cool when we bring athletes to the forefront. It kind of personalizes things for people to get to know them, and they not only get to know the program, but they get to know the person. And it's just a cool thing to do. And I think that athletes should be able to leverage that a little bit. Like, they shouldn't be so quiet about it. They should be able to, like, people should be able to see them, you know what I mean? And just get to share their skill sets and their knowledge and their passions with people. I think it's cool that you shared your creativity with everyone and you continue to do it. I think that's awesome. Like, and that's a skill set. Like, I'm just being serious. One day, Sam, let's just say one day you're like looking for a job and there's an opening. If I'm ever working somewhere and I'm like, dude, if the stuff that you're doing translates to the corporate sector too, because people need content creators they know that they've done the thing. So I think it's so cool that you've developed and acquired that skill set and continue to push it. So
Thank you.
one question I did want to, get towards the end here. I have two questions. One, with your faith, I wanted to ask you, like, how has your faith guided you in your journey in athletics? I would like to ask you that, and obviously you have your Christian clothing line. And so I wanted to ask you how your faith has guided you through your athletics career.
Yeah, I mean, it's been everything. I know definitely when I had the injury in high school and stuff, and kind of not knowing where my life was going to be going, just being able to trust that God has a plan and it's all going to work out. That definitely helped me get through it. And then kind of transitioning into college, it's a little harder for people, not just athletes, but kind of when you get into college and you're on your own and you got to make that decision for yourself. It's a little hard to do that. So one thing that I was fortunate enough to be a part of was we had a team Bible study last year with just some of the guys it was a lot of guys actually on the team. And that was just really cool just because just being able to be in that setting and talk about things that we don't really usually talk about just on the basketball court, and being like have a serious conversation about things and getting just to know guys more well. That was really cool and something that I'll never forget. And hopefully those guys won't forget either.
That's super cool. I think there's like a special bond that's created when, not everybody's a fan of like bringing faith into things. But I mean, as somebody who is a believer in Jesus myself, I think that's a huge thing. I think it's cool that you can bring that because there's a brotherhood that's built there on a different level. And you see it a lot. And it's cool that you got to experience that. And it's cool that you guys did that and that it's helped you and guided you. I think for other athletes who have a strong faith in whatever they are believing in, I think it can guide you if you utilize it correctly. I think it's cool to see you. It's inspiring to see how you've utilized it, Sam, because an injury can derail somebody, especially at that time in their life. It's the senior year in high school. The world's weird. Things could really go the opposite direction for you, but you trusted in God and you allowed him to guide you, right? To guide you to the right decisions. And then ultimately you were led to a team and a bond of brothers that you had a Bible study with. And now it's leading you past your basketball career to some other things that you're doing too. And I think it's really cool and it's commendable. And I hope everybody who's listening takes note of that. It's nothing to be ashamed of. It's something to be proud of. And I think it's freaking cool. So Good for you, man. That's freaking awesome. Heck yeah. So last question for you, Sam. What is the biggest life lesson that sports or content creation has taught you this whole journey? As of right now, it's not ended. It's just getting started. But at this point of your journey, what's the biggest life lesson that's all taught you?
I would just say definitely be ready for the opportunity. I know in sports, of course, but just in life as well. Like, I guess if you look at sports, just when the opportunity comes, just being ready for that moment, being ready to physically perform, but also mentally perform. Like, let's say, for example, if a starter gets hurt and you're thrown in the starting lineup, you got to be ready for that to perform. And if you're not, then bad things might happen. But if you do, you could change your life with that. And then, as in life, just being able to be prepared for anything that comes your way. And I would also say just be looking for open doors. I know a lot of times people are like, "Oh, feel like I'm not getting any breaks," or "I feel like things aren't just going my way." But in reality, like there's a door wide open right here, and you're just not seeing it, or there's a door open right there. So just being ready for anything and just being ready for the opportunity, I would say.
Freaking love it, dude. I love it, man. I appreciate your time, Sam, being willing to join us. I'm going to put the links to your social media pages here in the description. For those who were listening, obviously, remember Sam said that if you want to check out his merch line there, it's the link in his bio. So I'm going to put your social media channels here. I would encourage all of you guys who are listening to the podcast, go follow him. It's fun. It's fun to see what you got to say. And I hope you guys all learned something. And Sam, like I said, I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to join me, man. And hopefully we can stay connected in the future, but I appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, I appreciate you. Thanks for having me on. It was fun.
Absolutely, man. For all those listening, make sure to hit the subscribe button on whichever platform that you're listening on, because we'll be coming to you next week with another interview. Take care. Guys, thanks so much for listening to another episode of my show. Now, if you could go and do me a favor, head over to iTunes, give me 5 stars, and leave me a review, it would be greatly appreciated. Thanks, guys. Appreciate your support.